Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktobo, the parent company of Inksoft, GraphicsFlow, and Printavo. Welcome to our Supacolor webcast series. We are going to be talking about e-commerce today. And if you are not on board on e-commerce, you are going to find out how easy it is to get on board with e-commerce. And we're going to go through some very specific tools and show you how you can launch web stores, kind of tie up your customers, even going to show you some methodology for reselling transfers. And so if you want to set up an online design tool where customers can design their own graphics or upload artwork, you can order transfers from Supacolor, kind of broker, and we're going to show you how to do that too today. So we're going to move at a pretty good pace. We've got a lot of information to cover. And so what I'm going to do first, I'm going to turn off my webcam so you can see my screen. And the first part of the class, we're going to do as more or less a PowerPoint slide deck presentation. But the second part of the class, we're actually going to get in, build stores. We're going to go through kind of the nuts and bolts of e-commerce, and we'll set up a store for selling merch with Supacolor hybrid digital transfers. And as a mouthful, hybrid digital transfers. And we'll talk a little bit what makes a Supacolor transfer different than a traditional DTF transfer. We'll talk a little bit about that first. But so this is what we're going to be talking about today: is maximizing sales of DTF and hybrid digital transfer merch with e-commerce. I am the world's biggest fan of hybrid digital transfers and direct-to-film transfers. And what I love about this process is the ability to do very high-quality transfers and very low minimums, but be able to do them on a wide variety of products, including cotton, cotton blends, polyester. And I remember, watching the direct-to-garment evolution when direct-to-garment printers started coming on board over 20 years ago, and thinking that was going to be the game changer for our industry. And to a certain degree, direct-to-garment printing has really been an important part of the decorated apparel industry. But not everyone can afford it to spend, $12,000 to $200,000 on a direct-to-garment printer. It's not a very accessible technology. And what I love about these hybrid digital transfers, specifically the Supacolor transfers, there's low minimums, great quality, they wash wonderfully well. It's what we use for all of our uniforms now. It's really changed the marketplace, because to enter the market now, you really only need to have a heat press. That's it. You're entering the market with a heat press, and you're able to order transfers, get them turned around very quickly, get them onto merch, mark up that merch, and sell it to your customers. Now, with that being said, a lot of times people are working through word of mouth, or some folks have brick and mortar businesses. So some folks are working out of their houses. But there's a better way to sell. There's a more productive way to sell, and that's utilizing e-commerce, which is what we're going to talk about here in the class today. So why is e-commerce an important growth strategy for selling merch? The various options for getting involved in e-commerce. We're talking about kind of the 4 different types of e-commerce stores. And then I'm going to go in and we're going to actually build out a store. We can show you how we can do that. No, I'll talk a little bit about best practices for managing your stores and doing fulfillment. And you notice at the very bottom there, that slide says how to lock out your competitors by hosting stores for your clients. It is really hard to lose customers when you have them locked down with a store. The whole convenience factor of being able to go on your phone, go on your tablet, or even a computer, and to be able to look at merch and just quickly place an order, check out, instant gratification. That's a very sticky kind of situation. Once you have that web store set up for your clients, they're not going anywhere. So let's talk a little bit first about why e-commerce is important. And part of this, the whole market has changed since since 2020, when we all got the news of how, the pandemic was going to affect our lives, and nobody really knew what was going to happen. But what we did know is that in the decorated apparel business, the folks that kind of went, hibernated their businesses, a lot of those folks didn't come out. They hibernated their business when the gopher looked out of the gopher hole and took a look around. There was nobody left. Their customers needed to purchase merchandise, so they found alternative suppliers. And we saw a group of people that were they're kind of status quo. They kept their businesses open, against all odds, really. Some of those folks pivoted to PPE, which is what people were buying during the kind of the dark days, so to speak. But then there was this whole other group of people, and they're like, man, this is like the perfect time for me to take my business online. I don't have to be limited to a physical location or a territory. I can bring my business online, and I can sell all across the United States, even Canada if I want to, because I'm now a virtual business. And so they just widened their audience. And so one of the things that I've seen is people that made that move and that pivot towards e-commerce, those are the customers that we're seeing that are really thriving, to the point where it's really kind of a standard way of doing business now, where it wasn't as much prior to the beginning of the pandemic. Now, as consumers grew accustomed to shopping online, a lot of folks decided they preferred it. And I like to use the example of my mother, who's 80 years old, who does her grocery shopping to this day on an app online. You know, it's just easier for her with some of her mobility issues just to go on her app, place her order. She shows up at Fry's, she texts them, they come out, they load everything into the grocery store. And she really honestly doesn't have to go into the grocery store a whole lot. We still do that to a certain degree in our family, but you know, we still like to go in and squeeze the melons once in a while. But the majority of our shopping is done online for groceries. And there's not a day that comes by that there's not an Amazon driver here dropping something off. And we'll probably hear one while we're teaching the webcast today. So what's happened is buying habits change, and people that normally would not purchase online started to purchase online. And younger buyers have always purchased online. That's been, you know, something I've seen with my sub 30-year-old daughters, that, you know, that's their method of purchasing most of their products. We share an Amazon account, so I get to see everything my youngest daughter has sailed through her account. A lot of cat related things. We are a 6-cat family. There's 2 in our family with my wife and myself, but with my daughters have 2 cats. So there's a lot of cat activity going on, a lot of gifts and toys and things of that nature. But there's, you know, it's our preference as a family to purchase online. And, you know, when I'm researching new products, I'm always going to start that product selection process online. So right now I realize that the headphones that I use for audio engineering are 20 years old, and they've been pinching my ears for 20 years. And so I'm looking for a new set of headphones. So where am I going to go? I'm going to go online. I'm going to look at reviews. I'm going to shop for prices. That's where I'm going to initiate my purchasing decision. And like I said before, younger buyers, they prefer to buy online. They're not going to go into brick and mortar stores unless they have to. And I use an example of that. My daughter got married coming up on 1.5 years ago, and her and my now son-in-law were purchasing their wedding rings. And they went into a jeweler in Portland. They talked to the jeweler. They didn't really find anything they connected with. So the jeweler said, "Hey, listen, just go online, find, you know, something that you like. I can build just about anything. I can make it for you." And so they did. They went online, they shopped around, they found exactly the ring they wanted, and they ordered it from the online company. And that jeweler never had an opportunity to earn their business because based on their consumer habits, they just thought it was easier to buy online. And it was a happy ending to the story. They got married, beautiful rings, everybody's really happy. And also social media, by and large, is driving a lot of the product and vendor selection. And that's not just among younger folks too. It's interesting looking at my Instagram account, and I follow mostly, you know, some celebrities, but mostly like friends and family members. And I notice how much posting some of my older family members and friends are posting on Instagram. You know, it's just kind of a neat way for them to show off what they're doing or where they're at that one time. So it's the social media. Obviously, Facebook a little bit more tuned to the older crowd. Instagram tuned a little bit to the younger crowd. But you know, that's where you're seeing products, and you can't log into Facebook or Instagram without getting some kind of ad. And I noticed even on my TikTok account, you know, seeing quite a few ads, and I end up with a lot of T-shirt ads because of my interest in the decorated apparel industry. And so that's kind of always interesting to see what people are doing selling T-shirts online. Now they'll do a live where they're actually creating or pressing on a live, and then they'll have a link to their TikTok store. Pretty wild. So if you don't give your customers a hassle-free buying experience, they have a lot of options and they go elsewhere. I think that's one of the biggest arguments for getting involved in e-commerce. So what are some of the advantages of selling online versus in person? Well, first of all, you can go to market quickly with a new product. If maybe you're on TikTok and you see some funny idea and you get an inspiration for a T-shirt, and you want to go online with that T-shirt, you can do that. And you can take a flyer, you can create a little mock-up, put it onto a web store. If it starts to sell, then you can order in some transfers and just kind of press at your leisure. And especially with Supacolor having such low minimums and such quick turnaround time, there's really very little risk to you. So you can go to market quite quickly on a product, or maybe the local school wins a state championship and you want to sell some state championship merch. Very easy to go online, launch a store, put the merch in there, get the school or the team or the organization behind it with an email campaign, as well as posting to social media, and boom, you're selling product. Also, you know, when you're selling online, you're collecting valuable information on consumer habits, and you're able to target specific buyers. So you're able to see like what products are moving, you know, what your top sellers are, what colors are moving. One of my clients does a very clever thing with Facebook. He orders in gang sheets of transfers, and on that gang sheet, he does the 12 local schools, one design up for the 12 local schools of just a pocket design. So he does one gang sheet, 12 pocket designs, and then he pays for Facebook ads and does a Facebook ad with, hey, we have a $10 pocket tees. That pocket tee, those transfers are costing a quarter piece. The shirt's $2.50, maybe $3. So he's got, under $3 into it. Even selling that t-shirt, for $10, you're still making $7. And if he doesn't use up all the transfers, no big deal. It's still a very economical way to do it. And he can bank all those transfers for the future and pop that ad up again. And he's got it dialed into, it's a science the way he does it. And he says, hey, it's my annuity. Every time I do this, we absolutely kill it. So that's I think a pretty neat idea that I'll throw out there, and some of you might look at that, doing that too. And he spends money on Facebook ads. It's very economical to do that. And you can really drill down and target very specific markets. I noticed we did a Facebook ad for the trade show in Fort Worth, and we geofenced it, meaning as soon as you walked into the facility, you were getting our ad when you were within the perimeter of the trade show facility. That's the kind of stuff that Facebook ads can do. And also, you're controlling the customer's buying experience, and you're expediting the purchase process. And people are impatient. It's like, I notice my own consumer habits when I go to, buy things from Amazon. I'm always like, when am I going to get it? And I might actually be willing to pay a little bit more just so I can have it tomorrow. And that's probably what I'll end up doing with my new headphones. So two primary types of e-commerce experiences. So one e-commerce experience is what we call an online order form. There's 3 companies within our portfolio of companies at Inktavo. One is Printavo, which is shop management software. Other is Inksoft, which is your e-commerce platform, and then GraphicsFlow, which is our graphics platform. Printavo has a very elegant, simple e-commerce capability. It's basically taking a quote or an order, and it's just publishing it as a web page. And so it's giving the customer a very easy way to check out. They can approve the art, they can pick quantities, sizes, and colors. It's not a full formatted website. It's just a simple ordering page. And one of the things that's nice about using an online order form is it eliminates human error. And I'll share this with you. This is really interesting to me. I had a client at the trade show in Fort Worth, and he was saying, hey, does your software have the ability to create a flyer that, because my coaches all like it when I print out a flyer and then they give all those flyers out to all the kids, and then the kids all take them home and they scrabble their credit card numbers and put out the sizes and quantities. And my coaches really like that. And I'm sitting there staring at him going, what? Are you kidding me? No parent likes that. No student will let. The coach only does that, as a former coach, I can say this, the coach only does that because that's really the only way they know how to do it. If you want to have the same experience, but make it much more interactive and save yourself from having to worry about interpreting chicken scratch credit card numbers, and you don't want kids running around grabbing credit cards anyways. The dog ate that page, right? So I said, what you can do is you can go to Vistaprint. You can set up a web store for them because he already has web stores, and you can set up a web store for them. You could get a QR code that drives people to that web store, and you just create a simple little postcard. It has, a few pictures of the products, just a kind of a tease to get them to go to the store. They scan the QR code. They're at the store. They place the whole thing online. And he was like, oh, wow, why didn't I think about that? I go, well, now you know, because we have customers that do this. It's a really smart way to do it. And these postcards are so cheap. You go to somebody like MailChimp, Vistaprint. If you go to Vistaprint and you set up a postcard with the QR, low minimums, you can turn those around quite quickly. And we do that with transfers that we give away at trade shows. Supacolor is generous enough to provide transfers for us. We put our cool little Inked Avocado logo on those, and we QR those, and those drive people to a landing page. So this whole idea of having that physical, tangible part, it's not a bad idea. I think it's a smart idea to augment what you're doing online because it's driving traffic to your store, but you can do that with a postcard instead of an order form. But online order forms are really handy. An online order form, probably the biggest advantage is you are collecting payment up front. You're getting paid up front. And so one of the things that, we're trying to get you guys to do is to condition your clients to paying in advance. So you're not having to get credit card terms out there. You're getting paid by credit card. And, I'm talking to one of my clients that does lots and lots of business in the team world. He said it's just changed the way he does business, because he used to be, he'd have to have all this money out, prepaid, typically, floating in on his credit card for all the blank goods during his seasonal business. And now the customer's paying up front, and he's getting 100% of the payment up front, not even a deposit. And to me, that's just a good business practice. So the second type of e-commerce experience is going to be a dedicated online store. And that's going to be a website. So that store is a website. We can put testimonials in there, fundraising banners. We can incorporate video. We can really make it more of an experience versus just a page. And the idea with an online store is that store is going to be either what we call evergreen or temporary store. And an evergreen store is open all the time. It's a print-on-demand store. The customer can go in there, they can select the product, they place the order, and maybe you're collating those orders and producing them once a week. It's quite easy to do that with Supacolor transfers, because you could order in a small quantity just as a test and draw against those transfers. And then when you sell out of the design, maybe you order a bigger quantity the next time, because you see the store is doing what better, and you feel comfortable doing that. So there's the evergreen store, but there's also temporary stores. And temporary stores will create greater urgency. And from my experience, in certain settings, like with groups and teams and things of that nature, they're typically going to produce better because they create an urgency. And a temporary store is a store that you would launch. Maybe you run it for 2-3 weeks. You create a deadline. People have until that deadline to place the merch, and then you close the store, fulfill everything, ship it, boom, you're done. But when you're doing these online stores, you're freezing out the competition. And I talked a little bit about that earlier. You're just making it hard for somebody to sail in and take, quote, your business. And you're able to go in and steal other people's business, or earn it. That's probably a better word, because you're showing them the advantages of how they can do commerce from their phone or from a tablet using an e-commerce experience. And that's a very powerful thing when you're competing against kind of old school folks that really don't get the whole online thing. So, and you're also able to integrate with social media and email marketing. It's really an experience versus just a web page. And again, you're collecting your payment up front, which is absolutely awesome. So there's kind of two types of platforms for e-commerce. There's a general kind of generic e-commerce platform. I think good examples of those are Shopify, BigCommerce, Square, GoDaddy. Most folks are familiar with those. When you do a general e-commerce platform, the cost of entry is a lot lower, but you're paying by the store. So if you want to have a separate domain for, maybe you come up with this great idea that's, for mugs, and you want to have a store dedicated to just that mug company, you're going to pay for that store. And if you want to do a separate domain with a separate company, you're going to pay for that store too. So it starts to add up pretty quick. These types of stores are not specialized for apparel decoration and personalization. And so what do you do when you're having to collect personalization fields like player names and numbers? What are you doing where you're having to process graphics that people are uploading? How are you handling multi-location prints and different colorways for different colored products and graphics? Those types of stores aren't tailored to that. They're just designed to sell pre-decorated products, or, candles, or, just general stock products. And it's set up really for the decorated apparel industry. And one of the big disadvantages of these general e-commerce platforms is the lack of connectivity to supplier product feeds and photography. So you can go to the website of a supplier and you can grab their photos, but all of a sudden they have it's a Gildan 2000 t-shirt and there's 60 colors. It really starts to add up. And do you have access to inventory levels? Yeah, sure. If you have a SAMR account, you can go into your SAMR account and see what your inventory levels are. But the idea of being connected to a supplier feed, we'll talk a little bit more about that, is actually really attractive for people that are looking at industry-specific platforms. And we talked about the paper store business model. And also, a lot of these, e-commerce solutions, they're not going to allow you to have a dedicated redirect to a domain. So, it's going to be shopify.com / whatever the store name is. The better platforms, you could actually redirect the store and embed it into a domain. So you could have central boosters / stores and have that store go right into that domain. And that's what most of your customers are going to want. They don't want to have Shopify exposed in their URL. They just want it to look like it's blended into the athletic department website. So industry-specific e-commerce platforms, two of them are part of the Inktavo family of products, Inksoft, Printavo. There's also another popular platform called Deco Network out of Australia. And there's Order My Gear, which kind of made their name in the whole sporting goods arena. You are going to have a higher cost of entry into these industry-specific platforms because they offer more. They're more tailored to what we do. They're specialized for apparel decoration and personalization. So they're able to handle, custom decoration methods, complex pricing models and pricing grids, multi-location prints, setting up colorways. A lot of these platforms can do that. They're all going to be connected to a supplier feed at some level. Some to, like with Inksoft, there's 29 suppliers. All the big suppliers in the decorated apparel industry are connected. Some have, a fewer supplier feeds. For instance, like Printavos is connected to SNS, Sanmar, and Alpha Broder, which is pretty darn good. That covers a good portion of the market. And also, these platforms are all designed to be scalable. So they're designed to launch stores. And people that are running these industry-specific platforms, typically, I have one customer that runs 250 stores. And so they have to have an easy way to create a store and maintain stores. And those stores all have their own kind of nuance to them. And so for him to do it through an generic industry platform like, say, Shopify, it would make zero sense. All he'd be doing is building stores all the time. So, and then also the better platforms are going to have the capability of processing artwork for decoration and for things like screen printing, embroidery, direct to garment, direct to film, heat transfers, like what we're doing with Supacolor. So when you're looking at a vendor, some of the things to really consider is, you always want to look at the company's support policy. That's really important. And it was interesting. We were working with a company that has a screen sharing technology. They're a European-based company. Our tech team really liked the technology. It was great, but we ran into some problems with our logins where we had purchased a license and certain individuals within our staff couldn't log in. There was absolutely no way to talk to a live human. They didn't even do chat support. It was all email support. And as a result of that, we had to choose a different supplier. We canceled our subscription with them and chose another supplier because of our inability to actually talk to a live person to kind of troubleshoot this problem, which was very, very frustrating. And so for me as a consumer, I want to talk to a person. I don't, if I'm limited to chat or have to wait 2 or 3 days to get, an answer. I'm having problems with the login for one of my insurance providers, and I sent an email to them last week. They didn't even return my email. Fortunately, I was able to figure it out myself, right? So, having an in-house support team and I think a domestic support team that keeps the same hours that we're keeping, I think that's a really, really important consideration for a lot of us. Do you have a dedicated account manager? Do you have somebody that's going to be your go-to person when you have a problem that you can talk to, that you can book a training appointment with? In e-commerce, that's very important. And I talk to customers that have generic platforms or some of the platforms from our competitors, and they're complaining. This is like, I can't really talk to anybody that really knows what they're doing. I'm kind of on my own. I have to go to their YouTube videos to try to figure this stuff out. It'd be really nice to be able to just set an appointment or call somebody and talk to a live human. So I feel like that's really important. Onboarding experience. You've got some complicated things going on when you're setting up e-commerce. There's things like you're going to have to kind of think through what your pricing logic is, how you want to charge. You're going to have to think through, what products do I want to offer within my stores? Credit card, getting your credit card payment stuff set up, setting up the terms of the store and how you really want to configure it. Having somebody that can walk you through that process is really important. So for instance, with Inksoft, and it's also true of Printavo, there's a whole onboarding process where you're having one-on-one appointments with your customer service manager, and they're guiding through all of that. Training resources, what's available. It is shocking to me. I was trying to find out from a competitor if they had a comparable feature to something that we just launched. And I combed their website. This is a big company. I combed their website. I combed their YouTube channel. And I was stunned by how little information they had available for their customers. And I was putting myself in the shoes of a client going, wow, I mean, I really can't get the answers for the things that I'm looking for without talking to somebody. And to me, training resources are really important. So things like help guides, things like YouTube videos, things like webinars, like what we're doing here today, an archive of webinars, and also on the marketing side, it's not just the what button does what stuff in a software platform. It's also about how to leverage those, tools to make money, right? So that's what it's all about. And so does the company offer online education sessions like what we're doing here? I don't think there's anybody in the industry that does more online education than Inktovo. If there is, let me know. I haven't seen it. And so typically we're doing, I'm doing 2 to 3 webinars a week for our company. So we're pretty busy doing webinars and providing education. And that's really the biggest part of my job. So, and how long has the company been in business? We've been in business for 19 years. But how long have they been in business? I see all these kind of pop-up companies at the trade shows that nobody's heard about. And, it's always the same thing with our sales team. They're like, where do these guys come from? What are they all about? And then we'll go up their website and we really can't figure it out. And, some of them are popping up out of, offshore, and they're more like online companies. But this whole idea of, longevity, to me, it's important. What's the track record, right? So, Shopify didn't just pop up yesterday. They've been around for a long time, and that's partly why they're an industry leader. So 4 major types of online stores, and let's kind of break it down. So online store type 1 is a team store. So a team store is going to be, you have a group, you have an organization, maybe you're a coach or a booster parent, you're working with the athletic department, and they want a store where their fans can go and buy merch, or their athletes can go and get their uniforms picked out. Team stores are standard. Just about any high school, middle school organization is now going to have a team store. It's just a standard way of doing business. And it's also a great way to augment your existing business. Maybe you're not doing business in that market space, but maybe you have a friend that son is the star of the local high school football team, and you want to set up a little merch store. And maybe that kid has an NIL contract, and you're like, hey, I can do all your merch for your NIL contract. These are the kind of things that you can do with team stores. I think corporate stores are pretty self-explanatory. Corporations have products, they have logos, they want to, sell to have their uniforms purchased. But a lot of times corporations will also do merch that's more promotional. So something that to celebrate an anniversary or an event. I recently had some surgery. I was at the hospital and the nurse was wearing this really cool shirt that had a kind of a landscape image of McDowell Mountains where we live, and underneath it said Honor Health. It was a really nice shirt. And I asked her, I said, hey, listen, that's a really cool shirt. I know somebody else is wearing those. And this was like a limited edition they did like 3 years ago. Everybody always wants one of these. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, what if you were able to personalize that shirt and put the department in there? Pediatrics, mammography, radiology, surgery. What if you're able to do that? That'd be a pretty neat thing to do. So those are some kind of fun ideas that people will do for corporate stores, fundraising stores. I don't know about you guys, but, I was picking up some medication the other day, and I was going into Fry's, and, I'm a scout, and I saw this boy sitting out there, and I knew it was a gauntlet, and I walked around the perimeter, went in a different entrance because I didn't want to have to go through the scout gauntlet, especially that kind of guilt for being a scout. I just don't want to have to deal with it. Plus I saw somebody else was tied down with them, and they were selling popcorn, flavored popcorn. Listen, as a parent, I've been involved in all these different fundraising things over the years with my kids and dance and all of our scouting connectivity. If you can be a hero to somebody where that organization can make passive income without having to plant a kid in front of a Fry's store, that's a wonderful thing. And we have clients that really the lion's share of their business is fundraising, online fundraising stores. And they've got it down to kind of a science. And we'll teach you some of the little tricks for doing that as well. But fundraising stores are huge, and they're repeatable. And a repeatable store is, you'll pull it down for a period of time, and then there's a new promotion, you pop it up. There's a new event, you pop it up. That's a really wonderful way to not only do something philanthropic, but also make some money for yourself. And then another one is custom ordering portals. Most people think of a online store as a public-facing thing, but there's a private-facing side to it too, where you can set up a portal where customers can go in and place reorders and see their whole account history. And we'll actually show you one of those in a little bit. So creating an online store, just a couple best practices. Make sure that it's got to be easy to navigate. It's got to be simple, easy to navigate. I'm a snob. I'll be the first to admit. I look at your webpage and I judge you. And I look at your webpage and I'm like, okay, let's see if they explain their list of services. Do they have any employee bios that kind of create some human connectivity and show that they're a real business? Do they have testimonials? Do they have samples of their work? Have they listed their decoration products? Do they have a contact form? Do they have their social media links? I'm always looking for those things because that's the kind of the rudiments, the fundamentals of a good website and also a good web store. But fundamentally, it's got to be easy to navigate. And in my way of thinking, cleaner, simpler is better. So you always want to consider grouping products and pages by category. So, if you're doing drinkware, put it together, jackets, put it together. And also you can put together complementary products. So this t-shirt looks nice with this hat. That's a great example. Or a polo shirt with an embroidery and the corresponding embroidered baseball cap. Make sure your store is mobile friendly. It has to be mobile friendly. If your store doesn't look great on a cell phone or a tablet, that is going to be a huge hindrance to purchasing, because we look at the amount of revenue that we processed through Inksoft and Printavo last year. It was hundreds of millions of dollars. 80% of it was purchased via phone or tablet. The consumers that were purchasing from these stores are buying on their phone or their tablet. So it's got to be mobile friendly. You also have to consider your production processes and minimum order quantities. And that's one of the things I really love about Supacolor transfers. It's I can order 10 transfers. And so I can take a flyer on a store, order in 10 transfers. I can even put multiple designs on the same transfer. And if it doesn't do well, what am I out? I'm out 10 transfers. But if it does really well, there's a huge upside. And you really have to create your fulfillment model based on your production capacity, such as bulk ordering versus print on demand. So bulk ordering is you run a store for 3 weeks, you close the store, you tally everything up, you screen print, you embroider, you DTG, or better yet, you order transfers from Supacolor, or print on demand where orders come in and you just print on the go. And you don't have to do that all at once. You can do that. I have clients that print on demand stores. They only fulfill once a week. And so they don't, they put in their terms that, hey, we need 10 to 14 days for delivery, because they're only fulfilling once a week, because they're collating all their orders together for 2 reasons. Number one, they can order all their transfers at the same time or do all their printing at the same time, but also they can combine the blanks. And so they have larger quantities to hit price breaks with their suppliers. And that's another really good reason to, when you're setting up a store, to only, print once a week or once every 2 weeks. And then, consider outsourcing production to offer a broader product mix. There's no reason that you couldn't set up banners and offer banners on your website and just broker that. You can get an account with somebody like 4Over, the number 4, OVER. They're a print for the trade organization, and they'll print your banners for you and your signs and your business cards and pretty much anything that gets printed other than wearables. And you're buying at wholesale prices, and they're blind drop it shipping to your customer. So maybe offering a banner where you don't even have to, you're never going to see the banner. The only thing you're going to see is the proof from 4Over after you upload the artwork. That's the closest thing you're going to see to the banner, unless you just happen to be at the event. And if you drive around our neighborhood, there's a large proliferation of signs and banners celebrating the seniors at Saguaro High School, which has a tremendous amount of spirit. And they've taken it pretty far. Like, they'll have the name of the kid on there sometimes, usually first name. Sometimes they'll have photographs. Sometimes they'll have a team photo. If they're connected to a sport, they'll have, football on it. So, that's another great set of products to sell through e-commerce. So, and having a social media strategy for your stores. If producing a store and not promoting it via social media, you're not going to sell anything. If you can't get the group or organization to promote the store in their social media, or to send out dedicated email blasts, or better yet, that QR code postcard thing we were talking about, if you take a multifaceted approach to that and you promote that store, your store will do well. If you don't do that, your store won't do well, because nobody will know about it. And also, if your graphics aren't good, your store is not going to do well either. So you're going to want to promote your store through social media and email campaigns. I would focus on Instagram and Facebook. You can link your Instagram and Facebook accounts together so that when you post to Instagram, it automatically posts to Facebook. And I'll take you to Jill's store so you can kind of see what she does. And be consistent on your publishing schedule, be visual. You're using social media to showcase your work and to create a, quote, online portfolio. In that screen capture there for Jill Clark from All Star Cheerbling, every one of those little images is a video. And it's playing, it's got music, They're all hashtagged. They have all of the, quote, at for the accounts that for the group or the organization or the dance team. Video is always better than photos. Make your post personal. Add a little bit of personal touch to them. Good luck at state. Tag your customers. Always tag your customers, because that's going to amplify your post. And by tagging your customer, maybe another group or organization that follows them sees the merch you're offering. They're like, wow, that's some really cool merch. I'd really like that. And you'll notice on Jill's website, it says, due to high volume, we respond to email only, no direct messages. And then she's got a link to her website. And use hashtags to broaden your reach. That's just good information. And so here, let's take a look at Jill's website and see what's kind of going on here. And if I click on any of these links, this is whatever the newest thing that she's got going. So let's see what she's got going for here. So here's a video of her pulling up some transfers. Looks like it's a time-lapse thing. And I sold her that ePress years ago. Still got it. There you go. So this is what generates the buzz around her website. Look at that. That's not a hard video to get out there. And hey, fun fact, that heat transfer that's in there, the process of creating a heat transfer with a vinyl cutter and stencil is something I'm really familiar with, because I invented that, and I actually filed all the patents on it back in 2008. So, and she still uses that technique. She doesn't have a setting machine. She still uses that stenciling technique because her designs are very high volume of stones, and it's much, much quicker to create a transfer of the stencil versus a setting machine. And she can have 12 people making transfers at once, whereas a machine's tied up. Setting machines are great, but the stencil technique is still a really good technique for decoration. And so you can see, if we go to her website, All Star Cheerbling, she is an e-commerce based business. She is an Inksoft user, so this whole store is set up on Inksoft. If you go to her store, you'll see her online store partners. And these are all different stores that she's gotten permission from these companies to include them on her website. And she does business with many other people that she's not linked on the website. These are all print-on-demand stores where she's doing fulfillment typically about once a week. And she charges a lot for her merch. So that's a youth t-shirt for $32. And looks like it's got a combination of glitter and a few rhinestones on it. And so she's paying a revenue share back to the organization, which is another one of the really good reasons to do e-commerce, because you're not getting quoted on a price. So if you go to them and say, hey, what's your price for this t-shirt? Well, it's $12. Well, I can get it for $10 from this other person. But if you set a retail price and you tell the customer, hey, listen, depending upon the retail price that we set is going to be your revenue share, you don't have to collect any money. You don't have to take an inventory position. We're going to handle the whole thing. You're not going to have to talk to people when they have messed up orders. We're going to handle all that. And hopefully we're not going to mess up any orders, but you're not going to have any liability here. And you're going to get mailbox money. And mailbox money is that money you get once a month that shows up in your mailbox and you didn't really do anything. Or I can bulk sell you product and you're going to have to carry inventory and you're going to have to collect all the money from all the kids. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. And as a former coach, I hated that. When I was a soccer coach and we were doing like spirit wear shirts for the parents, I was always the person that donated my time and energy to create the designs and get everything produced. And I made zero money on it. I always lost money. And the worst part was collecting and collating the orders and trying to get all the money. And the second worst part was getting them distributed, because then, the parent that, the season ends and that parent was out of town or whatever. And then I'm sitting here in my garage. I got all these shirts that I'm still waiting to distribute. No, thank you. And those are the kind of complexities of the old school kind of, place an order, bulk order form, deliver, drop off to customer. We don't have to do that. We can set up a web store, and that's what Jill does. And she uses this to tie up customers. And I think it would be very hard for somebody to pull a customer from her, because number one, her stores are, they're just locked into everybody's brain. Everybody knows to go to this website to go to the store. Number two, she's got great graphics. She's very creative. And also she's just got really good customer service. She just takes care of it. And she's shipping every one of these orders postal service. She's not, dropping these off to, in bulk to the group. They're going on postal service. And she charges shipping too. So So that's a pretty good example. So let me kind of show you how we set up a store. And I'm going to set up a store using the Inksoft platform. This is the platform that we use internally as part of our 3-company group: Inksoft, Printavo, GraphicsFlow. This is our primary e-commerce platform. This is Inksoft. And when I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my bookmarks bar here. Give us a little bit more real estate here. When you first log into Inksoft, you're going to log into the dashboard. And this is going to give you visibility on, any kind of stores that you're building, what you're building on a store as you completed the store, any quotes that you've got out, jobs you currently have scheduled. I've got $218,000 worth of open proposals. Well, that's kind of awesome. I can view all my orders here. We're going to take a look at my orders. This is my dashboard. And when I'm building a store, there's a couple different ways to do it. So way number one is I could just go to stores and I could say, create a new store. And I hit the little plus button here. And when I create that store, I can name the store. And it'll automatically create a URL. And you notice that URL is going to be stores.inksoft.com. So typical, what you're going to see in like a Shopify, GoDaddy, they're always going to have their main URL and then a custom URL behind it. But one of the things that I can do with Inksoft is I can have this directed to a domain. So if Central Boosters has a website for the athletic department, say centralhighathletic.org, they can set up a page called /stores, and this domain can be that page. And there's no reference at all to Inksoft. And that's not something you can do in every e-commerce platform. And in the context of Inksoft, in just our standard plan, you get 100 active stores, not 100 stores, but 100 active stores. So you can have way more than 100 stores, but 100 active at a time. On an Inksoft Unlimited plan, you have an unlimited number of stores. And I have customers that have hundreds of stores. And many of those stores they're linked into a domain for the corporation that they set up the store for, or the school group. So we can use our own hosting and own domain, or we can set up a custom domain where the customer's hosting the website and all they're doing is creating a page, and we're depositing our store onto that page. And the nice thing about that is we're also handling SSL certificates. So if you don't know what that is, that's the certificate you do with any kind of web store so that you don't get a little message that says not secure. And so we handle all of that. And so to create the store, all I'm going to do is go through this little wizard here and all the settings for the store, checkout settings, who's responsible for the store, if I want to add a designer into the store, so they provide an interactive design experience. We do all that. And the cool part about this is once I get it set up once, I can save those as defaults so I can blast through it the next time I create a store. But I'm not going to go this route. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clone a store. And if I clone a store, all I really need to do is just create kind of a model store. So I could create a model store for schools, teams, and sports, and a model store for events, and a model store for businesses or corporations. And then when I clone that store, it'll copy over the layout. It'll copy out all the settings for the store, like the sales tax settings, all that kind of fun stuff. And it will also copy over products and graphics. And I'll show you why that's important in a second. So if I go over here and hit clone store, what I'm going to do is I'm going to name the store just like I did before, create the URL. I can change it to a domain name URL if I want, but I'm going to include products and store art. So if I curated 25 products that are just the standard products that I offer through my team stores. These are the 25 products. I got my 100% cotton tee. I got my 100% long sleeve tee, 80/20 crew neck, 80/20 hoodie, my zipper hoodie. I've got my Richardson hat. I've got my left chest polo shirt. I got a dry fit tee, and I have a dry fit hoodie. I just described 80% of the market in the team business. If you had those products right there, that's 80%. And so I can curate my top products. And so when I create the new store, those products carry over to the new store, and the art that's on that product carries over to the new store as well. And why is that important? Because I can globally swap out the art. I can go in and globally swap it out. So I can say all the designs with this graphic are going to go from Central Boosters to East Eagles. And I can do that all in one step, which is pretty awesome. So let's go to my Central Booster store. And when the store first gets created, it's going to come in with just very basic layout. It'll come in, you'll have this banner header here that won't have an image. You'll have your navigation bar. You'll have typically three stock product placeholders there, and then you'll have all your social media and your contact stuff here. So I've added all these other parts and pieces to my store. And the way I add those parts and pieces to my store are by going to the style editor. And so let me show you how I set up the little fundraising banner here. I'm going to delete that banner. So I'll remove it. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say plus. And that fundraising banner is right here. It's just a component. I've got all these components. I even have components for custom HTML, and I'll show you how I kind of use that as well. I have kind of my product blocks here. If I want to set up a slideshow, I've got a hero banner that I've already added. I've got a quote form here. I got countdown ticker for fundraiser. I got testimony. I got all kinds of blocks, and every one of these blocks has its own kind of smarts to it. So when I click on that block and I add it, it's got all the settings for that block. If I click on edit, all the settings are just going to be kind of right at my fingertips. And so what I want to do with this block is I want to hit goal setting, and I'm going to set up all the settings for this block. I'm going to say, hey, my financial goal is $5,000. We're going to pay them a fixed amount, or we're going to change that to percentage of profit up to me. So they're getting a fixed amount per every sale. I can put in the description of how we're raising money for them, so that's displayed in the navigation. I can put an end date on there. If I wanted to change the color scheme, you notice all that kind of stuff is right here. We'll change that to blue, which is one of the store colors. And then to move it up in the order, all I have to do is just click on this little 3-bar thing, and it's just drag and drop. It's really easy. Just go over here and grab this fundraiser right here, and I'll just slide it in underneath my header. So I've got that cool little header there, right there, and we'll just slide it in right there. So that's how easy it is to set up a part. And same thing, like my header banner here. This is where I can go and remove this banner and swap it out. And I can have this be a slideshow too. So it just rotates, and I can go in and set the animation type and how many slides. I can do all of that. And so I've worked in many, many different e-commerce platforms and helping customers set up stores, and I've never found one that's as simple and as intuitive as Inksoft. It's just a really easy way to launch stores. So one of the things that, we talked about was, so we create this store and we get it all set up. So how do I swap it out to the other store? Well, it's easy. You clone the store, and that store comes in, and all you have to do is go into the store, and you go to style editor and you change all the colors. So you change the color scheme here. And then what I did is all the products came in, and they all had Central Boosters logos on them. So all the products came in, they all had Central Boosters logos on them. And so what I needed to do is go back out and go to store admin. And first thing I did is went to branding, and I just changed the logos out. So that's easy to automatically update it. And then what I did is I can change the contact information to the new person that's in charge of that store, update the contact information. I can update all the settings. This particular store has the Inksoft Designer in it, and I went in and added the categories for clip art and stock templates that I wanted. But in terms of the product, all I really need to do is to swap out the art. And I'm prompted to do that when I first select the products. And so when I first clone the store, it says, hey, do you want to replace the art? That's the time that people normally do it. And so if I wanted to take this product and this product, and I wanted to go in and, edit them, I can just globally swap the artwork out for both those products with a new design if I wanted to do that. It's just replace art in bulk, upload the file, and, it just does it automatically. And it does it on every product. So if I had 100 products and I had 2 graphics, I could change 50 in one shot and the other 50 in the next one. And then I could go in and change the product color offerings too. That's a real easy thing to do as well. Now, in this particular case, we've created the store, but maybe we want to add a new product here. So we've got our store cooking. We're pretty happy with it. We want to add a new product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say create new, and I'm going to select a product. And these are all products that I hand selected for my store. So my template store, my base store, these are my top 25 products. I think I got 24 products in here. I added these products to the store. So in Inksoft, we can go to products and just add whatever products we want. So I added all these products in here. And maybe I want to make, let's see here. We'll do a crew neck sweatshirt. So I want to add a crew neck sweatshirt right here. I'm just going to add it. And I'm going to add it in 2 colors. I'm going to do ash. I'm going to do navy. I'm going to hit done. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a graphic. So I uploaded a graphic, and I'll show you where I got this graphic in a second. So I uploaded a graphic. I have a folder on my desktop. There. And I have all these graphics in here. So let's see. We will upload this one right here. So I'm going to hit open. It's processing this graphic. So it knows it's a vector art file. It's processing, it's parsing out all the colors and the vectors. And what that's allowing me to do now is I can go and set up colorways. So right now on the ash, probably looks great on the ash. But on navy, it doesn't look great on navy because we've got navy in the graphics. So what I can do is just go here and say view colorways, create a new colorway, and take the navy and then reassign that to, let's say, gray. Get that, that's a little over the top. Actually, it looks better with navy because I got the shirt. I got the shirt color coming through there, so on that graphic. So it actually looks pretty good like that. But I could go and change all the colors out. And if I do that, when I go and create the product, what's going to happen is I just have to put in the product description. So we can just, I can just use this as general crew neck. I can say what color shows first. I can go in here and change the SKU up. So if I want to customize the SKU, so I can run a report by CB for all the central boosters. I'll put in my pricing here. I'll add my upcharges here. So we're going to charge 45 for 2X and 50 for 3X, which is getting to be pretty standard because the upcharges from the suppliers on these are kind of huge. And then I hit finish. So I've added that product, pretty simple. And then what I'm going to do is just add it into the store, easy peasy. So I'm going to go into the store and I can go and let's do this. Let's get rid of this one here. So I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to add a 2-up product right here. And let's add a 2-up product. So I'm just going to say manage products. I'm going to do this sweatshirt and this sweatshirt. I'm going to hit done. And that's how easy it is to do. If you want to see the store, what I can do is, let's save it because I think it's kind of awesome now. And let's move this up to right under the banner. So we've got that. Let's save it. And then I'm going to ping this into the, chat. So if you're on the live, but the store is just demo.inksoft.com/East Eagles Boosters Shop Home. So that's the store. So if you're on the live, you can actually visit the store. Just don't buy anything. All right, there you go. So that's how easy it is to set up the store. So where does the artwork come from this store? That's a great question. Well, you notice here in my store, I have 2 things. I have what's called the Inksoft Designer right here. It says create. And then I have what's Art Portal. What the designer is going to allow me to do is that the customer goes in here and clicks on design, then they can select a product. They can say design now. They can upload their own art. We could upload that same file actually. And when that art uploads, because it's vector art, they can even go in here and change the color. So if they wanted to make that say red, they can do that. So they have the latitude to do that. If they want to create something from scratch, they can just type in text, import a piece of clip art, but better than that, you have design templates. So they can go over here and say, browse design ideas, maybe go into sports, and maybe go into soccer, and pick this design, and then super easy to set this up. So Eagles, Pride, and their East, and their colors are, let's see, we were using kind of that gold and navy. Looks good. Maybe we want to add a piece of clip art. This is all Inksoft. This is all hacked because Inksoft in its core is a graphics-driven platform. So we'll just go over here and do a search for eagle, see if we can find an eagle we like. And let's add an eagle in here. Kind of like this one. It's kind of old school. And we'll drop that eagle in here. Or maybe I have the actual real eagle from the school. We'll make that navy. And we'll make the white. I don't know what the white's going to, it's a bald eagle. It's going to have the white in there. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So if they save this now, they have to put in their email and their username. So we've captured that data so we can follow up with them. If they go to next step and they want to get a price, if they just put in 1, I have this set up so that for 1, they're going to be kind of penalized on 1 shirt. So they're going to get charged $24.82 if they do 1. I can set up a minimum order quantity that's 10 that corresponds to Supacolor's minimum order quantity. I could do that too as a pricing rule. And then I can also do price breaks. So let's say they get to, 24, 24, 24, and 12. And they get a price now, it's going to be a very different price because my pricing logic, I have this set up to price it as a screen print with 3 colors because we're actually pulling the colors out of this. If they go to the next step and go to get price and they check out, they have to save the design. I'm capturing all this data too. Actually, let's save this because I like this design. Eagles, Pride, what? Add to cart. And they don't check out. I get a report that says, hey, abandoned cart. I'm free to follow up with them, which is absolutely awesome. So this is one way of allowing a customer to self-service, but there's something that's really unique about this particular store. And I'll show you what the unique part of this store is. In this store, I've also included a direct-to-film gang sheet. So I created a product that's a gang sheet. I can go in here. It's a full color print, so I can have the customer upload whatever they want. So we'll just select that gang sheet. We'll pick the size of the gang sheet here. I can set up a grid on the gang sheet too if I want, but this is a 24 by 12. The customer can go and upload an image. So we'll just upload this little pocket design here. So they can upload that image. They can recolor it. So that black's probably going to look better as white. It looks a little bit better. And then they can copy up everything on their gang sheet. So if they go over here and they just say copy and hit paste, they can put multiple jobs on here. They really pretty much do whatever they want. So they could do multiple jobs. They can set up their gang sheet. If they have one of these they want to rotate, they can rotate it. So maybe they can fit more, put 2, 3 jobs on here. And this is how they order a gang sheet for direct-to-film transfers. So if you want to broker transfers, this is a really cool way to do it. And they get a quote when they check out as well. And then when you're done, you just download the art, send it off to Supacolor, they make the transfers. And that's how all of our transfers that we do Supacolor, we do gang sheets because we put multiple designs on a single gang sheet. We're always doing like 2 designs or 3 designs, or the one I'm doing right now has all of our corporate branding on it, but then it also has our cool Inked Avocado logo too. So I've got one that just says Inked Avo, and then I have a patch design on it, and then I have our Inked Avocado on it. That's a really clever way to do it. So a product doesn't have to be, just a wearable. It can be a gang sheet for transfers. It can be a banner. It can be a decal layout. This red here, what that is a bleed area. So it's a 24 by 12 gang sheet, but we're not going edge to edge. They can't go beyond this bleed area, which is red, and this one looks like it's probably set in like 1/4 inch maybe. That's a setting that we set up. So it says bleed line, cut line right there. So that's one experience. But the other experience, it's a little bit different, is maybe that customer doesn't want to have to be the person that's doing the design. Maybe they just want to pick out, a cool design. So what we can do in that case is we can send them to our art portal. And so our other company is called GraphicsFlow, which is an online graphics platform. And one of the things that GraphicsFlow does, it has what's called an art portal. And that art portal I can embed into my store. And so I've embedded the art portal into my store. Super easy to do. Customer can click on art portal. They can go in here, they can find a design. So maybe they go in here and type in soccer. They click on it, they add it, put some notes in on what they want. They check out. I capture their name, last name, email address, phone number. I've added some custom fields to this one. So tell us about your project. I pulled in a field for date picker. I pulled in a field for sales rep. So if they're working with somebody in my company, I know who they're working with. And they also have the ability to upload source artwork. So if they want to put their eagle in here, maybe I don't have their eagle and they want to put their eagle in here, or they found another cool eagle design they want me to look at, they can do that. And then they can just submit the design. And then all I have to do is go into my GraphicsFlow account. I'm going to get an email. They're going to get an email. And the email is going to say, hey, check your account because you got a design request. And then all I have to do is mod out the design. I don't need to have Corel or Illustrator or Canva or any program. I can actually edit this vector file. So just go down here to design requests, and it's just chilling out right here. And I can assign this to a coworker. I got all the notes. Who's your sales rep? It's Roberta. I change this to Central Cougars, Navy, and Scarlet. Click on this. But we're going to make this East Eagles, and we're actually natively editing on the original vector file. These files were all originally created in Adobe Illustrator. We're natively editing on that original file. So we have all of the text effects and color models and all of the text on a path and masking and all the neat things you can do in Illustrator or Corel Draw. We have incorporated all of that, visual value into these designs. So they're not limited. They can be anything we want. And so in this case, I think we wanted to do East Eagles. So I'll just go over here and change this to East. I don't have to have any graphic design experience. And we'll change this to Eagles. We'll spell it right. It's got a multi-layer text effect, so we're going to do both layers there. And EHS, we'll put that right there. And I could swap out the clip art or turn it off, but I like it. And let's go ahead and change the color scheme. So we're going to go with that same kind of gold and blue. And we'll go over here to the blue. If I wanted a consolidated color, maybe I just didn't want the gray in there. I can do that. So just take the gray and we'll just consolidate it to white. That's 3-color design. And then all I got to do is just save it. I've got an East Eagles folder here. I can come back and re-edit this design and make it into a different school once I get it set up. And then I just download the PDF file right here. And I pop that into my Inksoft store and I'm done. And this same PDF file is the file that you're going to send to Supacolor to order the transfers. You can also take these designs, you can import that file, whether it's a CorelDRAW format or the PDF format. You can import it to whatever graphics program you have. Maybe you're using Affinity Designer or Inkscape. The only thing I wouldn't recommend Canva, because Canva does not work. You could do this in Canva now that I think about it, because if you download the PDF file, you should be able to import the PDF file into Canva as a vector, because they have a vector import, but I think it's only for SVG files. I don't know that it'll work with PDF, and I have to play around with that with my Canva. But most people are going to have like an Inkscape or a CorelDRAW or an Illustrator. They're going to have a pro vector graphics product. So if you want to do additional editing, you can do that. But this is a production ready file. If I send this off to Supacolor, they can just go to production. This is a perfect vector file. And so that's how I'm creating the graphics to populate my team stores, or any store for that matter. And I'm using GraphicsFlow because I don't have to have a full-time designer on staff. GraphicsFlow has 7,000 designs. And so if I need a cool beach design, I can just go in here and pull up a cool beach design. That one's kind of nice because it's got a little weathered overlay on it. If I need, vector clip art, I need something that's Christmas oriented because that's just right around the corner. We can just go in here, and these are all files that are set up specifically for apparel decoration. There's 560 fonts. So what you saw here today was kind of part of an ecosystem. The ecosystem is an e-commerce platform, which is Inksoft. And then you also saw the GraphicsFlow part, which is the stock library of stock graphics, the ability to customize those, the ability to have an art portal. You don't have to have the art portal going into an Inksoft store. That art portal could go as its own standalone web page. Like me, I've got craigmertens.com. And this is what you get if you don't have an SSL certificate, not secure. I don't care, because this is just a demo web page. But with Inksoft, you're never going to see that because it's going to do an SSL certificate. So this basically is my craigmertens.com webpage. It's my portal. I've added some other links and my social media in here and a contact form. But you can also blend in the portal to any website. So that's basically it. So one last thing I was going to show you guys is we talked about the kind of the customer experience, and in terms of how are they generating commerce through e-commerce? Well, first of all, online design experience where people are self-servicing. So that's certainly one. Also, the ability to just populate stores and tie up your customers. That's one. But there's a third way, which is just making it easy for people to buy from you. And so the way you would do that is you set up a store that is just, maybe it's not public facing, it's maybe internal. So that example of that hospital shirt, I could set up a store for the hospital and they could go into their account and they could pull up that graphic and name drop it themselves. To me, that's a really good use. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out of here as an administrator and I'm going to log in as an end user. I've set up an account that's an end user account, which would be the account for the parent or the coach that's responsible for this, it's not the printer. This is the person that's responsible for administering this store. And so when they go in here, they can go to their account and they can see any quotes that are out or any past orders. They can initiate a reorder. They want to put in all the details of that. So they can completely self-service. They don't have to, be pestering you all the time to place a reorder. It's great for transfers. Because, if you're ordering digital transfers from Supacolor, it's pretty easy. And a little plug for Supacolor, those aren't direct to film transfers. Those transfers are being made with a digital offset printer, and they're also using screen printing to lay down two things, the white underbase and the adhesive. So they're not using a powdered adhesive, they're actually screen printing the adhesive. And I just absolutely love the Supacolor transfers. They wash great, they look great, they're not heavy-handed, they're awesome. But check this out. So the customer can go into here to designs. And if they want to go in and name drop this, all they got to do is click on edit designer. And they can go and change this to, volleyball, whatever they want to do. So another kind of avenue for e-commerce is setting up like a portal where your customer can go in and they can name drop their graphics. They can see their past orders. They can see their report from their revenue sharing program for their store with complete transparency. These are the kind of things that you can do with e-commerce. So the whole point and goal of the class today was to get you guys thinking forward, thinking about how you can leverage technology to grow your business. Stores, whether you're going with an Inksoft or maybe you're just trying out, a non-industry platform just to kind of get your feet wet, they pay for themselves. And it's one of these things that you're at I believe, a competitive disadvantage by not being able to offer stores to your customers, especially if you're trying to sell into the schools, team, spirit world, or the corporate world. And so utilizing a store to tie up your customers, to give them an easier purchasing experience, because the one thing I've learned is it's in the year 2023, it's not just about having great products. Everybody's got great products. It's about having a great buying experience for your customers. You just have to make them easy for them to purchase. And there's nothing easier than going to a website, looking at a product, hitting buy, credit card's already saved, checkout, done, you're rocking and rolling. That's the magic of e-commerce. And Inksoft has a wonderful platform. Tie that in with GraphicsFlow and the graphics creation, and you really have a set of tools that's ideally suited to selling merch with Supacolor heat transfers. So again, thank you so much for joining us.